This is Change the Brain, Conversations Without Limitations.
Welcome to Around the Mic with Sir Charles. You'll hear this broadcast either on the podcast, Around the Mic, or on my social media page, Change the Brain, Conversations Without Limitations. You know, it's not just about me, so you'll hear information from different speakers, trainers, coaches, and authors, all for you. So get your pad, your note paper, if possible, so that you can take copious notes on how you can also become better, the best version of you. And like I always say, you've got to radiate the brain and change the game. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sir Charles Carey, and we have a fantastic episode for you today on Change the Brain, Conversations Without Limitations. This gentleman has a storied past, but you know what? He did not let it get in his way. He continues to do, just insurmountable things. He's reached higher heights, and it's just proof that where you came from doesn't have to be the end destination. So without further ado, I want to introduce Steve Hopper.
Hey,
what's going on, man?
Mr. Carey, man, thank you so much, bro, for having me on here today. I'm so excited. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I'm humbled, man, to be on here with you, bro, and just spend some time with you.
Fantastic. Look, man, it's been a while. I know we've crossed paths and been in some of the same circles, but, this is the first time, that we're actually able to converge with one another outside of, someone else's influence. So I'm glad that you're here as well.
Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to ask you, man, I know you're doing a lot of big things in Florida. I see a lot of the events you're doing. I'm really impressed, and that's the way it's supposed to go. But tell people a little bit about what you're doing or about you, the person.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of quick background here. Obviously, everything's built on the foundation of the story. And I didn't share my story for a long time. I know a lot of people out there struggle with that. And I didn't share my story for a long time because I was afraid that my story would close doors. It would prevent opportunity. And just to give you a Reader's Digest version of my story, 17 years old, I had some amazing opportunities in front of me. I wanted to be a football player. It was what I wanted to do with my life. Went to a party one night, my senior year in high school, got into a fight with another teenager, and unfortunately that teenager slipped into a coma.
Wow.
And so 3 days after that altercation, the sheriff's department showed up at my parents' house with a warrant for my arrest for attempted murder. And I turned myself in. My father took me down to the county jail. Last thing he said to me before I walked through those doors was, "Son, keep your head up. We're going to get this all figured out. It's going to be okay." And 90 days later, I called home. My mom answered the phone crying and said he came out of the coma and he's going to live. And it was the best news I'd ever heard in my life. But when I speak at the high schools and the middle schools, I try to impart on our youth that when you make bad choices in life, there are almost always going to be bad consequences that come along with those choices. And those consequences for me were going to be great. So to make a long story short here today, for that one swing, that one lapse in judgment at 17 years old, they sentenced me to 10 years in Florida State Prison.
Wow.
And, Charles, I spent that time just eating, sleeping, drinking every ounce of self-development material that I could get my hands on. I won't go too deeply into things here with you today because I know we've only got a small amount of time with each other. But, I came to know the Lord in prison. I had a spiritual awakening. It was a life-changing experience for me. And I knew in that moment that my life had meaning and it had purpose, and that one day I was going to go and do great things. I had no idea what those great things were. I just knew that I wanted to go and accomplish whatever it was. I had no idea that at this point in my life I would be speaking, motivating, inspiring, coaching, doing all of these things. I just wanted to develop myself from the inside out. So I spent 7 years on that 10-year sentence, eating, sleeping, drinking every ounce of self-development material that I could get my hands on. Again, not knowing what I would use it for one day, just wanting to get better. So I got out of prison at 24 years old and, went through some changes, went into corporate America, did some cool things, got laid off, lost everything. It's just been an amazing roller coaster ride.
Man, that is a story and a half.
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy and exciting journey. But God's been with me every step of the way, bro. He's been,
Yeah.
even when I was trying to create my own destiny and make my own path, it's almost like he would let me do it for a little while and say, okay, well, I'm going to let you learn this because that's going to help you and ultimately what I want you to do. And then he just kept leading me down this path to get me to where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And it's, I realized, gosh, man, it hasn't been a really long time, Charles. It's been probably maybe 3 years that I came to that understanding as to what it was that God wanted me to do, what my purpose was. And that was to speak, inspire, and motivate people to a higher level in their business and in their lives. So
isn't that amazing how we go through so many different things? And I know, I can't say for you, but for me, I figure like, wow, at this age, I should be at this stage in my life. And you're still learning and still evolving. And, God still sprinkles nuggets of wisdom over you every step of the way at different parts or different points. And it's like you get that aha moment. It just comes out of nowhere. And it's like, man, I'm still learning good and things of depth that are really pertinent to me, being a success, just being happy and joyous in my life. And I just find that amazing.
No, it is, man. And it's so funny too, because when you realize that that's happening in your life and you actually start to pay attention, you can almost see it happening in front of you. And there's times I'll look out and I'll be like, okay, I get it. I see what you just did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Well,
yeah. So I know I took a long journey to get to your question, but once I realized that I had received this calling, and I realized that the devil was a liar and that telling my story was not going to close doors, it was actually going to open more of them.
That's right.
Yeah. When I came to that understanding, the roof just kind of blew off of things, and I started going out and I started sharing my story. And next thing you know, I was speaking 5 times a week. And it's funny because at one point my wife came to me several months into it and she goes, honey, I love that you're doing this. I love that you're out there motivating and inspiring people, but are you ever going to make any money at this? And I said, yeah, I guess I better figure that out. Right.
Right.
So, I began to really start to look at a lot of different ways that I could use my skill and talent to support my family and still, ultimately have that number one goal of going out and just lifting people up and taking them to another level. And one of the ways I did,
Steve, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
You, now, did you write about your story? Is there a book that chronicles, what you went through?
There is actually my book. And it's funny because I fought writing this book tooth and nail, but it was part of God's plan and ultimately ended up happening. But my book is called From Prison to Purpose. Wow. And it's just kind of my story, as well as I lay out the blueprint that God laid out in my life for me to figure out what my purpose was. Mm-hmm. And in a nutshell, there were clues throughout my life that led me ultimately to what it was that I was supposed to be doing. And as I looked back at my life and I saw all the clues matching up, there was no doubt in my mind that he had blessed me with this ability to go out and speak. And that's what he wanted me. That was my gift. He wanted me to use ultimately for the kingdom. So
that's amazing because, our stories parallel in so many ways. Now, when you speak, or let me just ask you this, what is your core message? Is it in leadership? Is it, what's your focus?
Yeah, it's influence. And, my core message is that our success in life, in business and in life, is greatly dependent upon our ability to go out and influence others in a positive way. So the cool thing about that is that core message is really when I work with people, when I'm doing my coaching and I'm working with people on developing their core message, developing their signature speeches, it's creating something that universally we can use in any scenario that we're put in. So in other words, that ability to influence for me is so powerful that I can use it. If I'm speaking at a high school and middle school, I can talk to those students about the power of their influence positively in others and what they need to do to have that ability to influence. If I'm speaking in corporate America, same scenario, whether you're an employee or whether you're upper management, having that ability to influence is one of the most powerful things that you can possess. And we all have the ability we all have the ability to influence others. It's just that most people don't really tap into that ability, master it, and use it for whatever their purpose is.
Exactly.
So,
That
yeah,
is so true, man. People want the results, but many times they don't want to do the work to get the results. They don't want to make the investment, money, time, whatever it may be, but they still want this great thing or this positive thing to happen in their lives.
that's right.
So let me ask you this. I see all the events you're doing, big ticketed events. You're with Forbes, you're here, you're there.
Right.
You just mentioned the book. I heard you mention coaching. And so basically you're facilitating events. So how many streams or how many outlets, I'll put it like that, how many outlets do you currently have? I know there's the book, there's coaching, and your live events. Is there more?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do keynotes as well. I just had 2 big keynote speeches this past week. So keynoting is a big deal. I love keynotes because you get a fee, you go in, you have the opportunity in 45 minutes to an hour to really light everybody up, and then you get to move on. So those are really cool. So I love keynotes. I do my own live events and seminars, and one of the reasons I started doing my own live events and seminars is because I saw an opportunity in my local community. I saw a need. As I was out there networking and growing my business, I realized that there were a lot of professionals out there that were struggling with various different things in growing their own businesses. Okay. So I said, what if I started doing some seminars and some workshops to help them with things like networking, social media, public speaking? Like, we've done all of these different types of seminars. And the cool thing about it too is I'll also tell people that have a desire to speak, one of the quickest ways to get a speaking gig is to do your own event. You don't have to ask anybody for permission. You don't have to compete with any other speakers. You don't have to fit things within their budget. Right. You just got to plan the event, market the event, fill the seats, and then do your thing. And so I love doing my own live events. It's been a great way to grow my circle of influence. And then, of course, taking some of that knowledge and, I began to productize myself. I think everybody should be productizing themselves because we all have a level of experience and knowledge that we've gained, not to keep to ourselves, right, but to be able to lift other people up, to share that. And one of the best ways to share that knowledge that you've gained throughout your life is to productize yourself through whether it's online courses,
that's right,
whether it's through a book, all of that kind of stuff. So so there's several streams of revenue that are coming in to Steve Hopper International right now. And then, of course, coaching is a big one as well. Nice. We have private coaching programs ranging anywhere between 5,000 up to 50,000. So we've got some high-level executive CEOs that are coaching with us that are in the $50,000 range, and
nice.
So a lot of good streams of income and a lot of lives being impacted, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm a true believer that in the beginning it is so exciting to to be on the stage. You got your suit on, you look good, and wow, look at what I can do. And then I tell people a lot of times that once you've done it for a while, you've gotten your message home and you're really comfortable in that space, you'll realize that it's really not about you anymore. Right. It's about what you can do for others, how you can impact their lives, how you can lead someone down the path that is intended for them, because maybe they just didn't get it yet. And you're the one showing them that it's possible.
That's right.
So that's fantastic. So now, what do you got working on? What do you have coming up? What are you working on?
Well, we have an event that we do. We do it twice a year. And it's coming up in October, which is called the $100,000 Handshake. And this event has been one of the most powerful events yet, because it started out just to be an event about networking. So I was bringing entrepreneurs and business professionals in and teaching them some secrets of becoming a master of networking, building a huge network in their community. And, I had all of the bullets laid out for this event. I was going to talk about where to go to network and how to get up and do 30-second commercials properly, and how to do the right follow-up and how to find the influential people and all of these different things. And I got to this event and I had the room full of people, And that morning of day one, it's a 2-day event.
Mm-hmm.
And the morning of day one, I asked a question, and I had no idea, Charles, what kind of reaction this question was going to receive. But, I got up that morning, and again, this goes to, power of sharing your story, right? So I got up, I shared my story, and then from there, I transitioned into this first question, which was, right now in your business, what is the one thing, or in your life, in your business or your life, what is the number one thing right now that you think is holding you back from achieving everything that you want in this life? And we started passing the microphone around the room, and what happened was people began to reveal things that I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I found myself there with these people,
Mm-hmm.
encouraging them, walking them through like some really serious stuff, bro. Like, we had one lady got up and she started crying, and she said, "I'm about to leave my husband."
Wow.
And, I mean, it was just one person got up and, began to share a story about, fear. I think fear's holding me back. Well, why are you scared? And that led to, the fact that she had been molested by her uncle when she was 7 years old.
Mm.
And so, dude, it was like all of the sudden this event went from a content-based, how to go out and network better event to this life-changing breakthrough type of event.
There you go.
And the reason it happened and it needed to happen was that when we go out there and we are in our community and we are networking, and so we call it the $100,000 handshake because it's really more than just a handshake, and it's more than money.
Right.
It's really what is on the other end of your handshake. In other words, what is on the other end of the handshake this way?
Yes.
Like, what product have you created? Because you're the product, you're always going to be the product. You're the product they're buying, you're the product they're not buying. So what kind of product have you created? And what aspects of this product that you have right here are holding you back? Because we got to get past those before you can go out and become a master networker or a master marketer or all of these other things.
And you would not believe how much we have in common, because people all the time, I said, listen, stop buying everything. And they say, well, what do you mean? I says, don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on other entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, or trainers, but you don't need everything that everyone has to offer. First of all, you need to know what your starting point is, where you are. Then you need to know what it is that you're going after. What's that thing, that skill, talent, gift, or ability that you're going to monetize or, do something really astronomical with. You need to know what that is. Once you've decided, then you start bringing on the different components and products and services to fortify that thing. I get it. Les Brown is awesome. Tony Robbins is the bomb.
Yeah.
So if you're going to buy the package without knowing what you want, you might want to rethink that.
That's right, man. And yeah, so you've got to build a brand. And, when you're building a personal brand, and this better than anybody, bro, because you're doing an amazing, amazing job. And, it's funny, you mentioned at the beginning of this that you and I have run in a couple of the same circles. But the beauty of social media is that we get to follow each other and we get to be in each other's business all the time, right?
Exactly.
And get to, but the good news is that we get to root each other on and support each other even from a distance. And
yes, sir.
I'm always liking your stuff, bro. I'm always watching your stuff. I think you're absolutely phenomenal and amazing, bro. And
same to you. Thank you so much.
I'm proud to be your friend, bro, because you bring something to the table that people should be tapping into. And, a lot of times people will look at, the Tony Robbins, and they'll look at, the Grant Cardones, and they'll look at all these guys out there that have reached this level, and they do two things. One, they compare themselves to those guys, and then they're dead in the water. Okay.
Yep.
And then secondly is they will buy into those guys, and they will, without realizing that there are guys like Charles Carey and there are guys like Steve Hopper that are right in their community that just haven't reached the level yet that Tony Robbins and those guys have, but have all of the qualities that those guys possess. which is that skill to lead people, to guide people, to lift people up, the tools that they need to go to the next level.
How many years, and I'm adding on to what you're speaking about,
Yes.
how many years have you really retooled, refined your skill set to get where you are right now?
Well, honestly, man, it happens on a daily basis. So, you know,
Right.
I received this calling, I would say probably roughly a little over 3 years ago, but it's been a constant growth process all along.
Right. And that's the thing right there.
Right.
You know,
Right.
whether it's 3 years or 30 years,
Right.
there's no formula that says that if you do these exact things, this will happen at this point. The point is, don't do it if you don't love it, which is why I say again,
Right.
know what your starting point is, because some people are just jumping on the latest trend, the latest fad. It's about the dollar amount, not realizing that you're not really where you're supposed to be. And it's funny, my second book is called Aligned by Design. If you're not aligned by design, you're going to fizzle real fast.
Right.
And then you're going to be looking for the next best thing.
Right.
See?
Yeah. If you try, and this was a struggle, man. And I don't know if you went through this at all personally, but I know I did. You know, comparison was one of those things in the beginning that was holding me back in a big way.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would look at other guys that were succeeding, and I would say, you know, well, maybe I could try that approach, right? And I almost did kind of like this little copycat thing, and, you know, not stealing people's stuff or nothing like that, but you know, comparing yourself and saying,
Sure.
well, I like that approach, I could try that approach.
Right.
And it didn't work for me, bro, because one, it didn't feel authentic to me because it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was trying what somebody else was doing,
Right.
and trying to do it the way that they were doing it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when I finally came to that realization that, hey, listen, use some of the same tools that these guys are using to deliver their message and to deliver their special uniqueness to the market. Use some of the same tools like your social media and video and all of these podcasting and all of these other different kinds of things, but give them Steve Hopper. Don't give them anything other than Steve Hopper. And if they don't like Steve Hopper, that's okay, because you don't have to be everybody's cup of tea, bro. Some people like their tea with sugar. Some people like it with sweet, you know, artificial sweetener. Some of them like it black, you know, whatever. But don't try to be everybody's cup of tea. Just go be you. Give your heart to them. Just pour your heart out. And the people that are going to want to be in your space are going to show up in your space.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that you're talking about, it's so important also because, you know, you have to find out who your authentic self is. How do you show up as the best version of yourself? And many times, even in the learning or the training process, we're told sometimes to do a particular thing in a particular way. And you may find that, nah, that really doesn't work for me. And so you have to, I call it discernment. You have to be able to discern, you know, really, again, how God wants you to walk. And it doesn't mean that the teachers are teaching you wrong, but it may not really cater to the authentic voice that you have, the authentic style that you have. You know, you got these speakers that are over the top with all this energy, and they're yelling at you, and they're screaming at you, and they're doing it, and it's good, and you can learn from it. I can learn from it, but that's not our style, you know. And if they're teaching, they may expect people to show more energy. Well, if you're a reserved person, I'm sure there are people out there that look to be taught by people that have a similar personality and a similar learning style.
And it's funny because I am one of those guys that kind of gets up and yells at them every now and then.
But it's all good. I found that I'm more reserved and calm, but as I've gotten older, I don't know if it's the appetite and the thirst for it. Sometimes I just tell them, get out, leave.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to do, you know, whatever the thing is, you're wasting your time.
It's funny.
I know they're like, whoa.
I always tell my audience, I'm like, listen, y'all, I'm like, I might get a little bit loud in here. I might get a little rough in here. And it ain't because I'm mad. It's because I'm extremely passionate. So y'all don't take it the wrong way. Just roll with it.
That's all good.
I spoke to a big group of teachers here recently. to get ready for the upcoming school year. And one of the things I was talking about was their attitude when they come in every day, and the impact that it's going to have on these students, and the importance of the role that they have. And I went around and I said to them, I said, listen, I said, how many of y'all are tired? How many of y'all are just tired? You've been doing this for a long time and you're just tired. And several hands went up, and I said, quit. Just quit then.
Right.
Because if you've lost your fire, if you've lost your passion, if you're tired and your attitude shows that, then you need to quit and go do something else, because these kids' lives are way too important. Because there may be a kid that's walking in your classroom this year that is contemplating committing suicide. And you may have been that person, if your attitude would have been different, that could have spoke life into that student, that saved their life. And so your role is way too important for you to come in here tired with a bad attitude. So if that's where you're at and you can't get past that and you can't find your fire and your passion again, then quit.
Yeah, man.
Too important.
That was a great message. Because, and well, I don't need to expand on it because that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes, I know even myself, you know, I found that I says, man, is my presentation stale? Maybe I need to spice it up. So we tweak things from time to time.
Right.
And I guess that would be the same thing for those teachers. You know, they have to realize that maybe they can tweak it. Maybe they can upgrade it, you know, because the world is getting younger and younger. And we got to be ready to relate to the world on the world's terms. You can't teach today's kids with lessons and styles from the 50s or the 40s.
That's
I mean,
right.
the foundation is the same, but we've got to be able to upgrade, relate to, identify with. So that's
right.
really great. Now, did you tell me that you have something coming up soon? You have something you're working on?
Yeah. It was the $100,000 handshake, which is coming up in October. And it's a 2-day intensive seminar, very, very powerful business and personal development seminar. We still, it's not just a breakthrough style event. There's definitely a little bit of that takes place when it presents itself, right? It's not, we don't go in with the plan or the intention of, hey, we're going to just do a bunch of breakthrough stuff with people. But if it presents itself and if people are in that space and they need a breakthrough, then we'll pause and we'll do that breakthrough. But it's still very content driven, and it's really designed ultimately to help people go out, become better networkers, build a bigger circle of influence. So that's one event that we have coming up. I've got another event in January that I'm doing with Dwayne Spires in Tampa that is going to be a 3-day personal development event. We're going to be calling it Success for Life Summit. And it's going to be, I mean, Dwayne Spires, if you're not familiar with him, if you're not following him on social media, definitely go look him up. He's a rock star. Focuses on helping martial arts studios across the country develop their after school programs and things like that. So he's a very high level speaker, very high level coach, and drives around in his orange Lamborghini, you know, flossing and showing off to everybody, but an amazing dude. He's the real deal. Very good friend of mine. So we're going to do this big event. We may end up bringing a few other speakers in for that event because it's going to be a full 3-day, very powerful event. You know, and in the meantime, man, in between these events, you know, we're just doing some keynotes, and we're developing again, productizing. Like I spoke to you before we jumped on here about creating some online courses to just really get that out to more people, that kind of information. So
what's your, I always call it the Oprah moment. What's your Oprah moment or your Oprah dream or your, you know, big picture thing? Like when it's all said and done, what is it that you would like to have as part of your legacy?
You know, it's funny. People ask me that often. And I believe that true success in life is when you become part of somebody else's testimony.
Nice. I like that, Steve.
And Charles, the last 3 years have been so life-changing, not only for me, but for the people that God has put in my space. And so I've already accomplished that in a lot of people's lives. And my goal, and for me, the perfect scenario would be that I continue to do that and do it on such a large level that God allows me to live on this earth long enough and keeps me healthy long enough to to do that to so many more people, and to have that opportunity with so many more people. And ultimately the end game for me would be that I'm building this because I want to leave it behind to my kids. And so while I have this focus of going out and becoming part of other people's testimonies, making such an impact on them that it literally changes their lives, but also developing it in such a way that my children can take it over one day if they choose to, and they can continue to build that legacy. It's so funny. I'm on Facebook and I see Zig's stuff all the time. And I know that his kids are there in the background just pushing his message and his love and his encouragement. They're still pushing it out there like he's still with us now.
Right.
And to me, that's the ultimate legacy that somebody could leave behind, to leave something behind, to have such an impact that their children are still able to have that impact long after they're gone. So the end game for me would be to be in a position that I've created something that would continue to impact lives after I'm gone.
And it's crazy. At least 2 times in this conversation, and I'm laughing and smiling inside because I'm like, wow, that's the exact same thing I feel. I told my children once before, I said, you really think that the Ronald McDonald or the Heinz kids care about Heinz ketchup or tomato paste or whatever? It's not about the popular product. It's about what it does for your lifestyle. It's about how it can have impact at the end of the day. And, when it's all said and done, the fact that it's the thing, whatever the widget is, it's the product or service that just keeps on giving. So don't look at things like, well, I don't want to be involved with ketchup, or I don't want to be involved with sugar. It's not about the ketchup or the sugar. It's about what the sugar and the ketchup will do for you, and how it can be a big benefit to someone else outside of you. So that's amazing, man.
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny. I've already got my 10-year-old. One of my daughters she's already taken advantage, and she's already jumped on it, and we'll see how long she sticks with it. But she's already speaking. She already wants to speak. She's already working on her first book at 10 years old. So as of right now, she looks like she's the one that might take this and run with it as far as the legacy goes. But you never know. You know, they all might get involved. I've got 4. I've got 3 girls and a boy. The boy's 8 years old. He's the youngest. All he wants to do right now is ride dirt bikes and play out in the yard with his friends.
Okay.
But, at some point he'll find his way, I'm sure, whatever that might be. But yeah, man, you're right. It's about building something that will have a positive effect. Again, the ability to influence, right?
Yeah.
It will have the ability to influence people in a positive way, even after we're all gone. And man, I know, again, hats off to you, bro, because I know that you're doing just that as well in your walk and in your business. I can see the books behind you. I can see the stuff that you're doing, bro. Yeah. You're building that legacy, man. And I encourage anybody that's listening to this right now, and I know you encourage this to them too, like, stop playing games. Like, we don't know how much time we have here. Start building your legacy. God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. So if you have a fear of stepping out there and starting to do these types of things, that spirit of fear is not coming from God. Then where is it coming from?
Right.
It's coming from somebody that does not want you to go experience true joy in life and be successful and be happy. Yes. So recognize that, step out there, and just start building your legacy, period.
Wow. That's strong, man. So how can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. All 3 of those are at Steve Hopper Speaks. They can also visit stevehopperspeaks.com.
Yes.
And I would love to connect with everybody on social media. And yeah, man, so just reach out to me. I'm one of those guys that if you send me a message and say, hey, can I hop on a call with you for a few minutes? I'm going to find the time to make that happen. There's been several times over the years that I've reached out to people that I looked up to and just wanted just wanted some encouragement from them and couldn't get them on the phone. They were just too busy for me. And I always said to myself,
I understand.
I am never going to be that guy, no matter what.
Yep.
And honestly, man, it's because I made that decision to be that guy. There's been a couple people that have had some life altering changes because I picked up the phone and got on the phone with them. And so I'm excited to be that kind of guy. So reach out to me if you want to chat with me. We'll make it happen. Man,
we've got to do something one day soon.
Yeah, we will, man, for sure.
Thanks for getting on the call. Wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
Speaking with you and finding out that we have so many things in common. So, folks, if you just joined in, check out the replay if you can. But this has been a wonderful opportunity of sharing with someone that really has a heart for people. The influencer's influencer, none other than Steve Hopper. I appreciate you. And you know what I always say, folks? You got to radiate the brain, change the game.
Now
See you next time.
You should know. I know. Everybody knows.